Well, I prioritize people that are adept at passing. So that's my first, young, old. I think all things are on the table. There's, some guys that were pretty interested in free agency, and there's guys in the draft as well. So I think both avenues afford us an opportunity to improve the room at that position, which I think was pretty obvious, is on everybody's tip of the tongue, that it needs to be a focus of ours, and it is. Yeah, those are weird situations in that, I have a close relationship with Anthony Weaver. And I obviously think highly of him, by hiring him, and our working relationship is awesome. But, I know he is going to be a tremendous head coach someday. And, so it's not that exciting. It is a relief just knowing that I think there's a tremendous amount out there for us to have finally have some continuity with scheme and leader. But you're also in the car with the guys that you have relationships with, and Anthony Weaver's deserving of it. And it's not. It just so happens it won't be this year, but. I'll be sure to not take for granted my working relationship with him this coming year, because my expectation is that whole process will be, I have to be ready for it to be short-lived, Well, honestly, that's my favorite part of the combine, is because there's it's a puzzle that you're trying to put together. How can you have a draft class impact your football team, where your needs, where the strengths of the draft, and then the individuals. And you can't. A lot of times people get caught up in, especially I think we're all victims of it. You get into the world of fantasy football and you start treating people like they're console creative players, and these are human beings. And that's at the foundation of what makes people be able to really succeed on the NFL level, because the parity is so real. So meeting him, understanding that we were dealing with a wise beyond his years type of young man, a guy that had just scratched the surface but was hungry to establish his kind of piece of the puzzle within the whole league of his game, and being able to really refine technique and fundamentals to be a really good player, not for the short-term results. Learned a lot about Chopper Robinson that, I think made it very easy in our conversations with Chris and I to make that selection. We're very happy we did it. Yeah, I'm kind of. It's tough because I have a hard time making things illegal because of success. However, I think my mind would, it's a different thing if it's a safety issue. For me, in the game of football, when your job is to take 11 people, possess the ball, and move it down the field to try to get in the end zone to score points, I think it's because it's successful. I have a hard time being at the teeth of the argument to move on from it. That's just my opinion. I do understand both sides.
How do you value upside versus positional?
Well, I think you value upside because you want growth, but it's a happy balance of, like, we don't have a farm system. Like, you are playing live bullets if you are on the 53, and generally when you're drafting someone, you don't have the luxury of redshirting them in the National Football League. So there has to be for me, I'm looking at the college game and extrapolating it to the professional game. And so I'm taking what's happening in college football with the players on any given play and extrapolating that to what that would look like on the NFL level. If there's a ceiling for, that's good enough, and that's extremely attractive, and that's probably what you want the most, is you want the NFL ability with room to grow into greatness. He had surgery on his wrist. It was a ligament issue. It wasn't a broken wrist, and he's scheduled to be running, very soon, in which he'll be rely upon that in his training until he can catch the football, which will be more around summertime going into training camp. I could see why one could come to that conclusion. However, it wasn't at all. In coaching, especially, I have a high regard for Wes Welker. And, generally in my position, I have to do the hard thing, which is, in this case, is look past the relationship. And, for me, I take the job and the responsibility of being a head coach super serious. And I don't play with people's livelihoods. So, for me, when it's very important that I outline specifically what I'm looking for on the front end with a coach, and in certain situations, those things can't be delivered upon. So, who else is going to do the hard but right thing? That's my job. But it was motivated in things that were much beyond, what happened with Tyreek at the end of the season. Well, because I can't replace that face-to-face energy and human element that is so important. Like in this game, it's the one time that however, it is for us a little inefficient in terms of time. There's some downtime in the middle of the day, but for me, I'm hard pressed with how important the decisions are for the fabric of your team when it comes to the NFL draft. Everybody can do it a different way. I need to see people in person for me to kind of complete the whole picture of what I'm seeing on film.
When you became a coach at such a young age, what were the benefits of that and the challenges that came with being a first?
That's a cool question, because there was some tangible benefits I learned live that I didn't forecast this, but it kind of fit in the same bucket as my physical disposition. Like, I'm young, I was at an Ivy League school. You better have information that players can easily digest, that they know immediately, that it helps them do their job. You have to become an asset to players with your information, and you can't be guessing. It can't be guesswork. So the amount of preparation that I felt that I had to have to feel comfortable instructing Andre Johnson, or my first training camp, I was in Denver, and it was one of Jerry Rice's last training camps. For me to have information that's worthwhile for those guys, it better be on point. So I think it was a very fortuitous in many ways, but one of which was my ability to do my job, because I knew I had to prove myself each and every day, which is kind of the mantra that I kind of take still to this day. What's that? Evaluating all of the compounding variables. That's the biggest thing. Is results are something that need to be focused on. However, compounding variables. This is not a science experiment that you can't. If you just take the results, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to missing out on people that can be very adept at their job. So I think you have to assess all the variables, one of which is a schematic situation that they're in, what they're asked to do, the eligibles that they're around, the situations that they're put in, all of these things. The quarterback position has a lot of uncontrollables that you're at the mercy of. So you try to do your best to put yourself in the player's situation and evaluate from that standpoint. And often that can lead to, all right, we need to give this guy another chance. He might have a better shot at the results that everybody wants in this situation, in this scheme, et cetera, et cetera. I have a very strong relationship with Parks. He did an outstanding job for us and was deserving of a little more responsibility. I think it's a great place for him to go, knowing his relationship with Coach Sirianni, and he did a great job with us in assisting Coach Bevel in the quarterback's room, and I expect him to continue to progress in his career. Yeah, no, I'm very emphatic about that resource tool being beneficial to non-starters in the regular season. Typically, their ratio of reps, the backup quarterback and the third quarterback, goes down in the regular season. And, I've witnessed firsthand, there was had a experience, I think, from 2018 to 19, where had a quarterback, Nick Mullins, that didn't get any burn really on the field, showed up at training camp better the next year, and had done so through stealing reps with VR. So to answer your question, I think it's very powerful to be a tool to gain reps where otherwise they're lost based upon the natural constraints of a practice. Absolutely. The extra and reps is what it allows you to do, and you're at the mercy of 21 other players generally to get a rep. VR, you can go solo, only child style. Have no friends, get reps. So it works out for everybody. I'm fired up of the incomplete room. There's the nature of the National Football League. You guys would have to fact check, but I feel like there's 40 to 60% roster turnover on every team every year. And I think that's something that's the nature of our business. Right now, I feel extremely strong about who's in the room, knowing that it will grow by 2 to 3 people. But I think part of our vision moving forward is we have high expectations for that tandem of Jevon and Jaylen, and think that they give us an opportunity to really be effective handing the ball off and doing stuff in the pass game. So I'm excited to see how the room fills out, knowing that we only have 2 under contract, but I'm very excited about those 2 and motivated to make that more than 2.
It seems to be a pretty deep running back class. Is that the position that you guys are looking at in the draft, or that 2-3 addition sort of you wanted more better?
So Chris shares this same foundational anxiety as I do, which is a lot of times the player that you ultimately in hindsight should draft may not be the exact position need. So, and to keep yourself from missing out on the opportunity to draft particular players that you think can help your team, you kind of go into every draft. It's non-negotiably, I have to focus on the entire draft class and see where its strengths are. And I think that between E and Chris Greer and Frank Smith and our whole personnel department, I think we have I feel very confident in our ability to match skill set with scheme. So we'll look at that position and, quite honestly, look at every position, because I don't want to be in a situation ever, and Chris is the exact same way, where you had an opportunity to pick somebody that is elite and you didn't put any time into it. So we'll put in healthy time just like every other position. But I'm excited for that room, even though it's incomplete. Yeah, I think Jevon has earned the right to go out and test his market, and that's something that I don't look as a negative, because what I don't want is players being here and wishing they were somewhere else. So testing the market. This has been a guy that has been a contributor from his rookie year on. That a lot of teams have had the ability to watch him, and we feel good about his ability to test his market, and if business works out appropriately, his ability to be back here. So that process will start. I know he's looking forward to it, and he's earned that. So one thing that I think is paramount in an organization's not fleeting but maintained success over time, I think there's a competitive advantage that we try to lean into on player development. And much of the girth of the staff is because we have position assistants that their job is to focus like they were the primary position coach on the back half of the room. Things after practice, we have a structured after practice developmental program that we do with guys, and then something on Monday from the past game plan. So the long and short of it is it is an issue if you have too many cooks in the kitchen. I think we have a good format where guys get the individual attention that I think is deserved of an NFL player who's trying to best contribute to a team, just like we all want them to. It's been more of an evolution. Like I recognize, one thing. You're forecasting with the idea of, overall, things happen in NFL seasons. You have a season that you're pumped about. You have a down season. But overall, if you're in a successful program, you have to have basically a situation where guys can grow within the program themselves and be ready to be a lead guy when that opportunity presents itself. And that's been kind of something that I didn't necessarily come in looking at, but solving the problems year after year, it's become a priority.
Chris has mentioned the need to invest in the offensive line this offseason. What does that look like for this team in terms of surgery, free agency, and this draft?
So to me, I think I'm excited because I think we have a tangible opportunity to improve, and that starts in free agency with a couple of guys that we have targeted that you think that you can get a deal done with them, and that continues into the draft. I think this is it's a very good time to have some need, and we have. It's time for us to invest in that position. Excited to, and that can come. I would expect it to surface itself in both free agency and the draft.
Mike, there's a prospect
Well, I'm only one day deep, right? And we have, I'm meeting hundreds of players here throughout the week, and so I will end up. I think I can't remember what day. Every day is the same day at the combine. So when I do get to talk to him, I'll be excited about it. He has a reputation from his play style on the field that I'm excited to dive into more, as well as to get to know the human being, which is why we're here. Oh, I'm in such a bind. She's the boss. I like you. I don't know.